Now, if you've been thinking about whether you should upgrade your HDB or stay put in your current flat, today I'll be exploring the 3 critical factors that can affect your retirement plans. Now, the last tip in particular is the one that can severely impact your financial future. So, let's dive straight in. Now, the first crucial factor that I want you to be looking at is whether or not the price of your property, is it stagnant or is it still appreciating? Now, first step you want to do is get the valuation of your property itself, or go to HDB portal, look at the recent transactions, preferably is in the same block or your nearby same cluster, and look at the transaction prices for the same kind of unit size. That will give you an indication of what is the current price that your neighbors are selling, and give you a good indication, and especially look at the floor level to compare and see what your neighbors are selling for. Now, if the price is not going up, and you have to take note that now is the record high in terms of prices, be it new launch prices are record high, resale prices are record high, whether it's for HDB, condo or landed segment, everybody is experiencing a boom. Yet your property is not. Then I think you should be very concerned, because as your property gets older and older, maybe 10-20 years down the road, when it's 40-50 years old and the demand is less because people can borrow less for old property, or you have a scenario where the lease decay, there is no hope for en bloc, then these are things that will affect your value. So it will gradually drop as the property gets older. People don't really appreciate old flats unless you might be located next to the MRT, next to the bus interchange. Then yes, maybe old flats there still have demand. But generally, you should be looking at a depreciating asset. Give you a key example. When I bought my HDB, it was a sale of balance flat, maybe 2003. I bought it in Punggol for 270,000. When I sold it after I MOP some years later, I actually look at my price. It wasn't really going up much, but I had the desire to upgrade my property. So we moved to a EC, and I sold my this flat for 5-room flat next to LRT for $450,000. Yesterday, when I was looking at the recent transactions for similar units, similar floor size in the neighboring block, it actually transacted at about 550,000. And mind you, I am 1 LRT station away from the MRT, Punggol MRT. Now, that happened 10 years ago. So you imagine this. If I take 10 years and I look at the price difference of 550 versus 450, it's 10k difference per year. 100k difference over 10 years, so 10k difference per year. That means every year I stay put, I will make 10k more. Not very significant. It's peanuts. But ultimately, the difference by upgrading, I actually, after I sold, I make 450,000. So if you compare 100k versus the 450,000 that I made from my EC, you can see the price difference. Does it affect my retirement plans? Yes, I think it is. So that is why I always look at a customer's current house, see whether or not there is still potential upside. If there isn't, I would suggest to them, likely it's better off that you move, because I think as it gets older, it should get worse. So that is the first critical factor. Now, for critical point number 2, your CPF accrued interest is eating away at your cash proceeds. Now, I know a lot of agents has been telling you this, but a lot of people don't factor this in until the day they sell their property. They see the amount of accrued interest they have accumulated and how much cash proceeds is reduced because of this. Then they think about, wow, actually the interest quite high when it's compounded over 20-30 years. So many of our consumers I've met, try to downgrade when they reach a retirement age, but because they are trying to go from a 5-room flat to something smaller, a lot of them, because of this negative sales situation or accrued interest situation, compounded by the fact that you have to set aside money into your CPF retirement account because you are already past 55 or near to 55, then end of the day, there is just not much left for you to buy your next property. So I have this one particular client, he can't even downgrade from a 5-room flat to a 4-room flat even though it's fully paid. He has to go into a 2-room flat, and that is a very drastic downgrade. And yet even then, he's not walking away with any cash proceeds, and I think that's very sad. So a lot of times is this, you have to factor this in. So when I own a property, I always consistently look at my CPF accrued interest, and I look at, like, point number 1, what is the value, what is my price doing in terms of how is it increasing or not. Because if my property is still increasing, I can beat this accrued interest, then yeah, maybe I stay on. But if not, then I really have to look at my next stage of whether or not I should upgrade into a more valuable property. This leads me to point number 3, the most important one. Your HDB flat is likely to be your most valuable asset when you retire. Now, this is a fact. It is likely going to be the highest quantum thing that you own. If you have $500,000 in your bank, cash, good job. You have done a lot of right things. But if your property is your most valuable asset, my question to you is this. Do you want it to be a $500,000 asset, a $1 million asset, a $2 million asset, or even higher? Now, all this comes from the things that you do when you were younger, whether or not you took the opportunity to upgrade to a higher quantum. So a lot of consumers actually look at, oh, I might not be able to afford the installment. What if another crisis happens, I lose my job? But there are other ways to counter it. Like, for example, we can set aside a couple of more years of CPF for emergency. We can set aside a 6 months plan cash safety net for you, such that if anything happens for the next 6 months, at least you can pay your house. Things are, okay financially for your family. But what I want to say is this. 2 different clients I have. One has done the right investments, moved to a landed at a very young age. I recently sold their landed for them $7 million. It's already fully paid. They took out, after minus cost and everything, they took out $6 million cash. And this is because of the right decisions they made when they were younger. Whereas correspondingly, for another couple, because they only are left with a $500,000 property, they couldn't even downgrade. So this $6 million, they could go anywhere, retire anywhere in the world, buy a simple property to stay on for the rest of their life. They even have money to give to their loved ones when, whether is it now or whether when they really want to move on. But ultimately is this, if your quantum that you work hard to build the value of the property that you own or multiple properties that you own over time, this will set you up for a fantastic retirement. In my case, I had to cash out early because I wanted to use it for my son's medical bills. But ultimately, do I start from square one? Yes, I start from square one again. But you imagine this, if I had stayed put in my 5-room flat, I moved to a 4-room flat, I will still be walking away with 0 cash proceeds and I couldn't have saved my son. So that upgrading move actually set my family up to be financially safe during a crisis, and that's what I want you guys to take away from this entire video. To look at your portfolio, or get me to look at your portfolio and see, is there other things that you can do? Should you upgrade or not? Because my objective is to set up this property safety net for everybody, so that if you encounter a crisis or worst case scenario, you need the money, you can cash out, you can also retire free and easy when the time comes. With that, I thank you for watching and goodbye.